Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to Superhero Sit Down, episode 16, where I sit down with someone who loves superheroes and we talk about the things we love, which is superheroes. And on today's comeback episode, I'm super excited to be collaborating with the superhero Buzz, also known as Noah. So, Noah, want to give the people watching a few information about who you are, where people can follow your content, and what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, I started my YouTube channel in October of 2018, and obviously I'm known as a superhero Buzz. I cover everything comic book movie related, specifically MCU related. So when it comes to what the new Avengers movies and everything in between with Spider-Man and the upcoming Black Widow trailer, I'm on it.
That's awesome, bro. We're both taking what we love and just completely turning it into a lifestyle. So
Absolutely, man.
that just gets right into my next question. So every superhero, every supervillain has an origin story. What is your origin story? How did you become the superhero Buzz? How did you start that pursuit of turning your passion into a lifestyle?
Honestly, my love for superheroes actually started way back when I was a toddler. In specific with the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon series and the X-Men cartoon series. I remember
Yes.
watching them when I was younger, and I fell in love with all these amazing characters. And over time, I ended up growing on these characters and reading the comic books, and then I started watching the movies, and just the passion just evolved over time. And obviously, in my young adult age, and I'm 22 years old, I sorry, I lost my train of thought. But when it, but okay, sorry, I just lost.
You good? You good?
Okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And but I've been following the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever since 2008 with the first Iron Man movie. I really
Yes.
loved that movie, and
Yes.
that was just the beginning of something that we honestly had no idea about. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is unprecedented, and it's the biggest movie industry in Hollywood as of now, which I think is really honestly incredible. But I really loved like reading about the news and everything when I was in high school, and I talk about it with all my friends. Honestly, I could not shut up about it with everybody I spoke with about the
Yes.
like with Marvel and everything like that. I thought, you know what, I could do a YouTube channel where I can talk about this stuff, and honestly, and that's how it all started. I had no idea that I would be growing at this alarming rate over time. Like I remember the first couple months it was a couple hundred subscribers. I remember getting all my
Yep.
friends to subscribe to my channel and check it out. It's a trial, and YouTube as content creators, it's a trial and error thing. And we improve on our craft. We make mistakes, we take risks and whatnot. And it's a growing experience, and I love it.
Yes, 100%. When you take pursuit of what you're passionate about and then you take those steps moving forward to turn that passion into a lifestyle, it's obviously a lot of risk and a lot of sacrifice, but the reward is you're doing what you love for a freaking
Exactly.
living. And
Oh, I
that
honestly,
that's what life is about, doing, waking up every single day passionate about what you do. So that gets right into my next question. For someone watching this video and they're passionate about something but they don't know how to turn that passion into a lifestyle like how we're doing it, what is one tip that you can give one of the people watching this video in order to take what they're passionate about and turn it into a lifestyle?
honestly, it all starts with your state of mind. I'm a firm believer in the law of attraction. I believe in working hard and and working to receiving what you're going to get. That you have this vision in mind and you have to work towards it. And honestly,
Yes.
it's all about taking that first step. Whenever you're thinking you have a great idea, because honestly, there are plenty of people out there with amazing ideas. We just have to act on it. And when
Yes.
people come to me about creating YouTube channels or pursuing something they're passionate about, I always encourage them to take that first step and just to move forward. Once you get past that, it's all a little bit easier from there. It's really takes a lot of courage to put yourself on, for me, the online platform. And like obviously there's tons of people passionate about what I'm covering, and that's super cool to connect with fans and just everybody, in you, for example. But
Yeah.
honestly, I believe in just taking that extra first step and just putting yourself out there and just taking the risk. I know it's scary, but it definitely pays off in the long run.
100%. As a wise man once said, that's all it is, Miles. It's a leap of faith. And
Exactly right.
that's literally all it is. Just taking that jump, post that first video, upload that first picture. See, really dive deep into your passion, because I don't know about you, but I feel like passion turns you into a superhuman. Like
Oh,
I feel like I could do things no one else can do because I have passion and love at the core center of all of everything related around soups, everything related about creating superhero related content. It all has passion and love at the center of it. And that's why I feel like when you have something that you're passionate about and you pursue it on a daily basis in order to turn that into a lifestyle, that's where you unlock your true power and you become someone that you never thought you could have become in the first place.
Oh, I completely agree. Actually, a couple years ago, one of my English classes, I wrote this huge research paper on the superhero influence on society and how, comic book movies and just these heroes in general influence everyday people and, how they inspire hope. And, and like we live in a world where there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and superheroes,
100%.
in general are just they're symbols of hope that people can, cling
Yes.
towards. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, as people, going through everyday life, we have something, each character we can relate to and whatnot. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and all those superheroes may be fake, made up comic book characters. They're based on human experiences. They're based on different human struggles. And I think that's why we connect. And it's so easy to connect to superheroes and relate to them because we connect to some of their struggles. Like the reason
Absolutely.
Spider-Man is the most popular superhero is because everyone can relate to living that double
Exactly.
life of living the life you actually want to live and then living the life that you have to live, whether
Right,
it's in
right.
high school and or a job, but whatever it may be, those are the struggles that are most relatable, and that is why we love superheroes. That's why we connect to them so well because although they may be fake, they are more real than you may think.
Oh man, I 100% agree with that. Like I couldn't have said it better myself, quite honestly.
Yeah, so now continuing to talk about superheroes, let's get into the main discussion for today's video. We're going to be
Let's go.
talking about the future of Marvel Studios.
Oh,
So Marvel just came off of the biggest movie run that's ever happened in the history of cinema,
quite
capping off with
honestly.
Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. Avengers Endgame being the biggest movie of all time, and now it seems like there's nothing in the water right now. We have Black Widow coming in May, but the waters are calm right now. But Noah, this is the calm before the storm.
Exactly, man. Yeah,
This is the
honestly.
calm before the storm because one thing we do know is that there have been multiple confirmed Marvel release dates for 2022 and 2023, including 4 movies a year.
I
And
know
that's not
it's
even talking
crazy.
about the Disney Plus shows that are coming within 2022 and 2023. So my question to you is, when you have 4 Marvel movies coming out every single year on top of 2 to 3 Disney Plus shows every single year, do you think that's oversaturating the industry? Do you think people are going to get sick of Marvel movies?
Honestly, I really don't. I mean, 4 movies a year, people might think, wait a minute, like, maybe are they, kind of exhausting superhero genre? I kind of disagree. I know statistically it says people go to the movies 4 to 5 times a year. And obviously that, does raise concern when you're having all of these projects coming out. But honestly, with Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, they have built the brand up just so immensely. And like, I think it's super
100.
cool that, people all over the world love Marvel Studios and they love the brand. And, Marvel pushing out all of this content with the Marvel Studios brand, I think it's just going to make people even more excited for all of the new content and everything. And I really don't believe there's going to be any saturation when it comes to that. As long as the stories and these shows and movies are good, I think that the superhero genre will continue to be exploding. And I think that's really just honestly really cool because superheroes are mainstream now. And that
Yeah.
used to not be the case. But like
They're
almost
cool now.
everybody, right, right, yeah. And everybody's talking about it now for the most part. I mean, just you have your casual moviegoers and you have like your avid fans like you and me. But I think it's really cool that the mainstream audience is really starting to grow on these movies, and overall I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so when we're touching on the topic of Marvel oversaturating the industry, Marvel putting out too much content in a year, obviously, the more content that they put out, the more we're gonna eat. Like the more fans like
Exactly.
us are
Right.
gonna be able
Right.
to eat and breathe on a daily basis. But I think they are gonna actually lose some fans because unlike any other movie franchise, Marvel, all of their shows, everything they do is connected with each other.
Right.
So when you think about 7 to 10 Marvel projects coming out every single year, of course, including the movies and the Disney Plus shows, that's going to be a lot for the casual fans to be able to keep up on. And I do think they're actually going to lose some of the casual fans because it's going to become more of a chore to watch shows like WandaVision, that not the casual movie going audience that would go see something like an Avengers movie
Right.
wouldn't go see WandaVision. But now, since they have to go see WandaVision to now understand what's happening in Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, now it starts becoming more of a chore. So I do think they're actually going to lose a bunch of casual fans. But obviously, this is the calm before the storm. And with these projects, such as the Disney Plus shows, where we hear that Marvel is putting hella money into these shows.
Oh, absolutely.
Like movie budget into these shows. You know, they're obviously going to be high quality, and it's going to be something that fans, like hardcore fans like me and you, like the people watching this video, that obviously we're going to eat up every single part of these shows, the movies, and we're not going to get bored of it. But I do think in terms of looking at the bigger audiences and the casual audiences, Marvel is going to lose a couple of casual audience members just because it's going to be too much for them to keep up on, because all of their projects are interconnected.
Yeah, I honestly, from that perspective, I do see your point. I was kind of shocked because Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige actually did mention that in order to keep up with everything that's going on currently in the MCU, you have to keep up with these shows. And obviously, that casual moviegoer isn't going to watch that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, you have to ask yourself, when it comes to every single MCU movie that's released, I can guarantee you that, there was a lot more people that saw Avengers Endgame compared to Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm sure there were some people that saw Ant-Man, the Avengers Endgame, they're like, who's this Ant-Man guy? Why is he so big? Literally, that confusion does happen. And I know originally when Phase 1 came out, Marvel really did their best to cater to their audience, explaining everything from each movie about what's going on. Now you kind of have to do it yourself. And I can see the chore aspect behind it. And it might, turn off some fans when it comes to that, it's just the mainstream moviegoers, because it really causes a lot of confusion, quite honestly. Now, obviously, for people like us, we literally this is our life. This is our bread and butter, essentially. But for a great example, my dad, he's like, who's this Ant-Man guy or something like that. And, I literally have to go in some in-depth analysis, explain the character and everything and how he ties into Avengers Endgame. But yeah, I can definitely see the concern. But in the long run, I think that Marvel Studios will survive, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And now that you brought up that point, now that I think about it, for the majority of people who saw Avengers Endgame, there was a lot of fans who watched that movie without watching the 23 movies that came before.
Right.
And they still had an awesome movie-going experience. So for those casual fans that Marvel is technically going to lose, because the same amount of people that are going to watch Doctor Strange 2, Thor Love and Thunder, the same amount of people that are going to watch those movies aren't going to watch WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have a bad experience going to see those movies. So they might be losing less of a percentage of their audience than I might think. But I do think that in the long run, they're still going to lose some audience members, as it's going to be too much for them to continuing to keep on to the story in detail.
Yeah. You mentioned a few minutes ago, about these shows are going to have a movie budget. I think it's pretty incredible that these shows are going to have $20 to $30 million for each episode. I mean, when it comes to the Netflix series with Daredevil, that they were I think $2 to $3 million, which is still quite a bit for each episode. But literally, this is 10 times the amount. So Marvel, you better give us the best content possible with this kind of budget. I do trust Kevin Feige and everything he's doing.
Oh yeah.
And Feige 100%. We trust, right?
100%. And Feige we trust.
Absolutely.
And when you think $20 to $30 million per episode,
Mickey Mouse literally has a never-ending supply of money.
Just to put it into perspective, that's twice the amount of budget that they used for each and every single Game of Thrones episode.
Wow. I didn't know that. But, thinking about that, honestly, that is incredible.
Just imagine the scale of this. When you're thinking of a show like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, can you really put in that much money into a Falcon and the Winter Soldier show?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you think about it that much, it really, do you really need that much for it? But at the same time, with Captain America Civil War, there was such a huge budget. But maybe with like, the Falcon's wings or something like that, I'd be like, I
I
really
don't
don't know.
even know.
I do know the cinematography for the Captain America movies, and obviously the show's going to be inspired from the Captain America genre. I think that it's going to be something really special and really cool that we haven't seen before, though. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But especially with WandaVision, honestly, they said it's going to be half sitcom and half, live action
Yes.
series. Like I have no idea what to expect when it comes to that, but overall, I'm deeply excited for it.
So actually, I want to touch on that a bit. WandaVision. That's been a show that's kind of the details have been absolutely intriguing because we hear 1950s sitcom, and then the other half of the show is gonna be MCU style, classic MCU style
Right.
movie. What?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors
That
to take in.
doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
what I do think that they're going to introduce in WandaVision, this is my theory that I'm running off of with this show. So after the events of Avengers Endgame, we see a homeless, depressed Wanda. And then she comes across, meets this mysterious woman or mysterious character, and boom, pocket dimension. This mysterious character creates a separate dimension for Wanda where she's with Vision. That's where we get to that concept art and we get that 1950s style sitcom. Here we're also introduced to the two twins, Wiccan and Speed, which
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
are going to be in the show. And the only way we get to see Wiccan and Speed, and then on top of that, Vision brought back, it would be in a fake reality.
I
So
would, yeah.
then once we really process that, who else is in the business of dealing with alternate realities? Oh yeah, Doctor
They're
Strange,
strange.
which
Yeah.
Wanda is going to be directly involved with in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So we are going to get introduced in some form of another with alternate realities within WandaVision, and that's going to correlate directly into Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness. And Noah, I'm jumping the gun here, but when I'm talking about alternate realities and really alternate jumping, because that's what Wanda's doing essentially, is jumping from the main MCU timeline or universe to her own little pocket dimension. But what if at the end of Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, I've been speculating this, we get to see our boy Deadpool
Honest,
dimension hop to the main MCU universe? Because when we talk about Wanda dimension hopping, that's how they're gonna introduce Deadpool. Like, I don't see any other way how they introduce Deadpool without acknowledging everything else. And he's
oh,
just that
yeah.
character who's gonna break the fourth wall. He's gonna mention the old Fox universe. He's gonna do all that stuff. So I just see it all beginning with WandaVision and the whole fake realities, pocket dimensions, different dimensions, alternate realities, and it's all gonna correlate into Doctor Strange, and then it's gonna set up what's to come for the future of the MCU.
Actually, that's really interesting you mentioned that. I have my own theory regarding Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It has to do with obviously Spider-Man. I know a few months ago, we literally the internet went to
Yep.
hell when Spider-Man was being pulled out of the MCU. But luckily, Sony and Disney came together for some agreement to renew him for a third movie and one more untitled tent movie. I know, literally, just the biggest sigh of relief, right?
Literally.
But in multiple interviews with Sony and Marvel Studios, they said that, they didn't confirm anything, but they alluded that Sony Spider-Verse and the MCU may have loose connections. Now, you may ask yourself, why is that the case? I have a theory
Yes,
that maybe,
sir.
maybe after Spider-Man 3, which comes out before Doctor Strange, if I'm not mistaken, into the Multiverse of Madness, and Spider-Man may appear in the Doctor Strange sequel, and he may be transported to another universe. Now, what universe could that be? Sony Spider-Verse, how he can go back and forth, and obviously he might be involved in that universe for the time being until Marvel renews a contract. Boom, Avengers 5 or 6 comes around,
Yeah.
they bring Spider-Man back, and maybe even Venom for some Secret Wars crossover event or something like that. I believe that would be kind of a plausible way to write him out of the MCU because let's face it, Sony's very selfish with the character, and they're going to want to capitalize off the Spider-Man franchise as much as they can. Obviously, it's just business. As us fans, we may not agree with that, but that's just kind of how the Hollywood works. But
Yeah.
I think that there's a strong possibility that Spider-Man may get pulled into that Sony Spider-Verse down the road, and then that's how he gets wrapped up in that whole brand new universe, basically. And then he can go. That's a way for him to easily go back and forth between dimensions. Because Kevin Feige did say that Spider-Man is the only hero with the power to move between different universes. So just something to
Exactly.
think about.
Exactly. Like when you think of all of the subliminal messaging with Kevin Feige, Amy Pascal, who's the head of Sony, you know, it really starts to feel like they're gonna delve deep into that whole dimension hopping, and that's how they're gonna deal with Spider-Man's departure from the MCU, leaving it open for him to potentially return in the future, which I think will eventually happen. But we have to see how this deal works out. But before we talk about Spider-Man, I want to talk about Captain Marvel, because before even her solo movie came out, Kevin Feige was saying Captain Marvel is the new future of the MCU. She's the new face of the MCU. Wait till Iron Man and Cap dip, and she's gonna grab this. She's gonna grab this universe by the throat and just lead it. She's gonna become the face of the universe. But after the Captain Marvel solo film came out, after Avengers Endgame came out, there hasn't been a lot of praise for that character like there has for someone like Spider-Man. Like, everyone's going to be more hyped for Spider-Man than they are for Captain Marvel. And it feels like they kind of altered that in a way, because after Spider-Man Far From Home, it was pretty obvious that Spider-Man is the new face of the MCU. So
Absolutely.
do you think moving forward that they're going to, slowly backtrack the the plot line that they had for Captain Marvel in making her the face of the MCU, and now putting Spider-Man in that position because they have a new deal and he's going to be in the movies? Or do you think they're going to continue on with that path of putting Captain Marvel front and center moving forward with the MCU?
I think it could go one of two ways. I know with Brie Larson, obviously there is a pretty big divide in the fan community when it comes to what people really think about Brie Larson. Honestly, this is what I think it comes down to. I saw Captain Marvel and obviously I saw Avengers Endgame, and I really appreciated the character. And I could be speaking for myself here, and I'm okay with that. But I think that when it comes to these main MCU characters, they have this kind of charisma for them. Like, when it comes to, Scarlett
Yeah.
Johansson and, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, I call it the MCU charisma. And, obviously, Brie Larson hasn't had that much experience working with all these characters yet. So it may take time for her to develop that. I think there was a
Hmm.
little bit of an improvement in Avengers Endgame, though she didn't really appear much in the film. But I think that, she just kind of, contrasted with all these characters because she just kind of lacked that main MCU charisma that people are so attracted to when it comes to these characters.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I could see that point of view because, you know, we're looking at a person who, first of all, she filmed her scenes for Avengers Endgame before even her Captain Marvel solo film.
which is
So
crazy, yeah.
so to just hop into the biggest movie of all time, and you're acting alongside Robert Downey Jr.,
Right.
Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, like, that's a lot on your plate. That's a lot you got to deliver. And then
Absolutely.
with looking to someone like Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man. I mean, all of the OG Avengers, they've become those characters, and it's second nature at this point. They don't really have to act; they just are those characters. So I do think with with time, Brie will mold into the Captain Marvel role and her own envisionment of the character. So it won't really feel like she's playing Captain Marvel. It'll feel like Brie Larson is Captain Marvel, the same way Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, Chris Evans is Captain America. But now when we look at the OG Avengers, the majority of them have made their departure. But one
Right, right.
character has interested me, and I'm interested to see how they manage this character moving forward. And this is the future of Hulk. So Hulk is a character that after Avengers Endgame, he has his arm that's basically
Right.
paralyzed. He can't do anything with it. And now moving forward with Hulk being one of the biggest Marvel characters of all time, I feel like it would be a waste to just have him sit back on the sidelines as that scientist that isn't really in action anymore. So how do you think Marvel is going to manage the character of the Hulk moving forward? Because I feel like he's too big of a character to just throw away like that and have him on the sidelines. Now, he could take on that mentor figure for a new Avengers team or something around those lines, Or we could see a de-evolution storyline where he goes back to that raging Hulk monster that we know and love.
Oh,
How do you think
absolutely.
Marvel's gonna manage that character?
Well, to begin, when it comes to the Hulk character, it's kind of a sticky situation compared to their other properties because technically Universal still has a little bit of rights to that character, and
Yeah.
Marvel Studios got the rights to Hulk for the MCU by extending their contract because Universal wasn't using the Hulk character. I know every 5 years they have to come out with like a new movie for whatever, like for the
Yeah.
studios like Sony and Universal that own these individual character rights. So they're like, I'll tell you what, if you let us use Hulk in the MCU, we'll let you continue your ownership over the character. I think that it's funny you mentioned that Mark Ruffalo recently had a meeting with Kevin Feige to
Yeah.
discuss Hulk's future in the MCU, and in specific, the key headline everybody was talking about online is a Hulk
Wolverine.
versus Wolverine movie, which honestly, just the name in and of itself, is sure to set the
Exactly.
fandom on fire.
But
Um,
in order for us to see that, we would have to see a de-evolution of the
right,
Hulk.
right,
We're not going to see Professor Hulk against Wolverine. We have to see raging, lose
right, right.
control Hulk against Wolverine.
That's true. That is very true. There's a few ways to go about it. I believe the first time we may see Hulk in the MCU again, like from the very start, like moving forward, I mean,
Mhm.
is in the She-Hulk series because obviously,
Yeah.
she is Bruce Banner's cousin, and she becomes She-Hulk by infusing Bruce Banner's blood, which I'm sure Mark Ruffalo will appear in the series because it wouldn't make sense without it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. Yeah. There has to be ties to the Hulk in that series.
I believe there could be a few ways to kind of, the de-evolution of the character. I know there was actually quite a few people that were upset that, we got this Professor Hulk so early. But I do agree. I don't know exactly how they would, go with the de-evolution of the character
Hmm.
because obviously for each Avengers movie, he has, gradually the big difference between Bruce Banner and the Hulk is, they kind of just melded into one
Yeah.
person essentially. And it's going to be hard to, backtrack from that. But I really am interested to see how they would go about that. I think honestly, the more plausible way is for him to act as a mentor for the new Avengers team, because obviously the OG Avengers, such as, Captain America,
Yeah.
Iron Man, and
Not around
Natasha,
anymore.
they're not around anymore, right? And Thor is obviously off doing whatever with the Guardians, which I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see what they do with that character moving forward. But I think that Bruce will be the new mentor for the future Avengers team, and like this, we obviously know the new roster, as Kevin Feige said, is going to be old and new members, and these new members are going to need some training and experience. And what better candidate to lead the new heroes than Hulk himself?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. There's two routes they could go with that when it comes to managing the whole character. It's either de-evolutionize the character or make him the new mentor for the new Avengers. But
Absolutely.
I'm leaning more towards the de-evolution route, and then Hulk will die eventually in a future film as a de-evolutionized Hulk, and it'll be more of a tragedy than
Right.
a right off into the sunset storyline for that character. But again, it's obviously another possibility for him to become the new mentor, as he's the most experienced Avenger and the only Avenger that's still alive on Earth.
Right.
Because
Right.
now, after Avengers Endgame, Thor is off world. Cap, Iron Man, Black Widow aren't around anymore. Hawkeye retired. So
Right.
now it's like the Avengers don't even exist anymore.
Pretty
Like they don't
much.
even exist anymore. There's no Avengers anymore. So I'm
It's
curious to
it's
see if
crazy to think about
he's
that.
gonna be the one to kind of assemble a new Avengers team moving forward. Because
Nick
that's I
Fury
feel like that would be
style.
I feel like that would be a logical plot line for that character. But you know, it's gonna be tricky to see how they manage that character. But because we don't have Robert Downey Jr. around, we don't have Black Widow around, we don't have Captain America around anymore. We are gonna see those some form of those characters come back in some sort of another. So Black Widow died in Avengers Endgame, but she's getting her own solo film. Thor, he Thor's still still up and running. He has
Right.
his
Right.
fourth movie coming, and he's gonna be around in the MCU for a while. Hulk, obviously, he's gonna have some ties to that She-Hulk series, and we do know we are going to see him sometime in the future. Hawkeye, we're gonna see him in his own series, and now we only have Iron Man and Captain America as two people we do not know how they're gonna bring back these characters. It's gonna be in some form of another, whether it's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're gonna get a lot of Cap correlations in that series. I feel
Most definitely.
because I feel like it's gonna have to do a lot around finding the next Captain America. We do know that the government is going to have their new version of Captain America and U.S. Agent, and that's going to be a battle in itself with
Oh yeah.
introducing U.S. Agent, and then you have Falcon, who literally got handed the mantle of Captain America down to him. So there's going to be some heads bumping there, but I do feel like sometime in the future, whether it's 10 years down the line, 12 years down the line, I feel like we're going to see Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans in some form of another. We're never going to see them back as the faces of the MCU, but I do think we're going to see them return in the future. Do you share that same opinion?
I do. I know, interestingly enough, Chris Evans said that he would be interested in returning to the character if, the story was right. I believe there's a lot of, when he went back at the end of Avengers Endgame to put back the Infinity Stones, so obviously the fabric
that's
of
a Cap
space
movie in itself.
a man at a time, quite honestly. And I think that would be super cool to, tell a story bring the Russo brothers back and just to see a story about all the experiences he went through, because obviously he went through quite the change. I mean, obviously seconds later he came back as just an old geezer for the most part, but
Yes.
he was obviously wielding Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and there's just literally, like, I would love to see an interaction between Red Skull and Captain America himself, after
Bro,
years.
bro,
That's a story, right? That's a movie in and of itself right there, I believe, or a
bro,
key pivotal scene that many of us want to see.
bro. When we saw Red Skull in Infinity War, after
Everybody's
Infinity
like,
War, I was like, we're gonna see them meet up in Endgame. We're gonna see them meet up in
and we
Endgame,
never got it.
and we never got that interaction. We never got it. I feel like that was the whole reason they brought back Red Skull in the first place, so we could see Captain America face off with Red Skull after all of these years. Oh my god! But that completely killed my whole theory about Red Skull, because I thought they brought Red Skull back for that particular reason. But now it's like, what are they really gonna use Red Skull for now? Like,
That's
eh,
true. That's true.
like
But
they could use him, but it would have too much ties to the Infinity Stones, and yeah, that's already in the past. Let's start something new.
it would be a cool flashback scene, honestly. I mean, to have,
One
some
hundred
kind of
percent.
flashback scene. But, honestly, there was so much opportunity there, in my opinion. I believe that's just missed potential, in my opinion. Which the Marvel Studios, as much as I love it, they are not perfect. They've made plenty of mistakes in the past. Just look at
Yeah,
the Inhuman show they did a couple years ago.
yeah. They have their downfalls, but man, do they have their uprises.
Oh, absolutely. They're the kings of Hollywood right now.
100%. But now when we're talking about a new Avengers team, because Avengers Endgame capped off the whole everything that it's been building towards, and now there seems to be no Avengers team. When do you think is gonna be the next time that we see an Avengers team dynamic? It doesn't have to necessarily be an Avengers team, but a team dynamic. So whether it's a crossover film where you have multiple characters coming to face off against a threat, because I feel like before we get another Avengers movie, we are gonna see a Captain America Civil War type film where it's gonna be like a sequel to one, like Captain Marvel 2. We're gonna see multiple heroes come in and play a role in that film as they're gonna be facing off against the Skrulls. I mean, that's just my theory, but I think we're gonna see a team up film before we get to an Avengers film. So when do you think is gonna be the next time we see a team dynamic?
A team dynamic. I know Bob Iger stated, and everybody went crazy when he said no more Avengers. But what he meant by that statement was that they're gonna kind of take a break with the Avengers franchise. They're gonna
Yeah,
give us, just a few years, just build up these new roster of heroes in the movies and in the Disney Plus shows. I believe, probably no later than 2023, we will see some form of team up movie like on that Avengers style. But I don't think we'll see the next in-game level event for another 10 years, in my opinion,
oh,
because obviously, like, we had
100%.
such a build-up. So I think Avengers 5, people are, they can't expect it to be, to top Endgame. That was such a pivotal moment. It was the epic culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Infinity Saga. But I believe that we will see Avengers 5 probably in 2023 with Captain Marvel and Spider-Man and Black Panther and Doctor Strange being the frontrunners of the new team, along with some other heroes like Miss Marvel. I know there's been a lot of speculation about her
Yeah.
playing a pivotal role in the MCU. And interestingly enough, Kevin Feige said that there would be heroes that go back and forth between the shows and the MCU. And he
Yeah.
mentioned three in specific: She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel. So I'm super excited about that.
Moon Knight. Ah, I
Oh, I can't
cannot
wait for
wait.
that show.
I cannot wait. That is my most anticipated Disney Plus show. But, you know, looking forward, I don't think we're going to get an Avengers 5 film for a while now. And the beauty behind Avengers Endgame was that they took such a slow time. It was such a slow pace, such a slow build to all of that. That's why that film was so beautiful. But now, but that was when they had their first 5 core characters that they took their time building them up. Now, it's way more than 5 characters. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
all of the established characters that are still alive and still have futures within the MCU, such as Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. I mean, the list goes on and on. But then on top of that, you're introducing new Marvel characters such as Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Blade. And then on top of that, you have the freaking Fox properties coming to the MCU in the form of the Fantastic Four, Deadpool, the X-Men. So now it's like, dude, you have hundreds of characters that you gotta build up.
All at
So
their disposal.
I don't think we're gonna get an Endgame style film anytime soon, just because they have to take their time integrating the Fox properties while also building up the new characters and some of the fresher characters. They have to build up this whole universe again in order for us to have that level of satisfaction that we had after watching a film like Avengers Endgame. Now, when we think of the next universe assembling film, I think that film is going to be obviously going to be Avengers versus X-Men. A
Oh, man.
clash, a clash between the Fox properties and the already established MCU properties, all coming to collision with X-Men versus the Avengers.
That's a potentially $3 billion movie in and of itself, just with that title alone. I mean, like that would be incredible if it's done right. Now, I think
If
that
it's
if
done
like
right.
if they rushed the movie, it wouldn't be doing the characters justice. I know there was a lot of people that expected the X-Men to show up at the end of Endgame. Like, of course that would be super badass to see that, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like they have to build up these characters. We have to grow with these characters, and evolve, like, just like we did with Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and Black Widow and like all the mainstream Avengers for the most part. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite some time before we see that. I wouldn't even be surprised if we had a Avengers level, in-game level event with Galactus, where all these characters have to come together to face a bigger cosmic level threat. Because we do know that the MCU will be divided into a street level and cosmic side of the MCU. And I
Yeah.
know that with Guardians 3, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the cosmic side of the MCU. Well, I know there's going to be a Nova movie coming out in Guardians 3, which there's so much to be
Yes.
excited about regarding that.
And wait till they bring in Adam Warlock.
Oh, I know. Finally,
Oh
it's
my,
been a long time coming for that character.
long time coming, but he's finally coming, and he's gonna be one of those pivotal characters in the entire universe. So we got a lot to look out on the cosmic side of things. But while staying on the topic of new characters that they have to introduce, we've talked about the already established characters, but let's talk about the Fox characters. When do you think is gonna be the earliest we see a Fox property in the MCU?
I know there's been a ton of theories about that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one of Galactus's heroes in the Eternals. I know the
Wow.
Celestials
Yeah,
are
there's been rumors about that.
oh yeah, and I believe that obviously the Celestials are going to play a really pivotal role in that film. And Kevin Feige said that we're going to learn about the backstory and their agenda. They've been pushing in the MCU for thousands of years. And I think this is really
Yeah.
cool that what they're doing with this film, because it's going to be dated back thousands of years. So there's
What
really no. I'm
what
sorry.
really intrigues me about the Eternals is that we're learning more about the mythology of how this whole
Exactly.
universe started. And when you're thinking of the mythology, like there's so much they could do in terms of setting up the next big villain who's been roaming and lurking over this universe the entire time.
Oh, with Galactus, absolutely. Now, I know there was a theory that Galactus's first herald, I cannot think of his name right now. It's killing me. But I know that there's been rumors that he was going to debut in the movie and kind of foreshadow Galactus, kind of on the back burner, just like they did with Thanos in the first Avengers
Yeah.
film, just slowly but surely building up to this
Hmm.
next cosmic level threat. And Galactus is the perfect candidate, in my opinion, for that. And the Silver Surfer. There's been talks that a Silver Surfer movie is rumored to be in development, which I'm 100% on board. That would be so much fun to see, and with the right creative minds behind it, that would be one incredible film, in my opinion.
Bro, I've been dying to see Silver Surfer in the
Me
MCU.
too.
I mean, you don't know how many times I've like twisted different theories and different speculations where we could see a Silver Surfer post-credit scene in Infinity War in Endgame. Like, I've just been waiting to see this character introduced because with the introduction of a dope-ass character like Silver Surfer, Galactus isn't far behind.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
Yes.
when we're talking about the next big major MC like universe culminating villain, Galactus is certainly on that list, but I'm leaning more towards Doctor freaking Doom. Doctor Doom has been a character that he has had his live action debuts, but they have never done justice to the character. The
Absolutely.
Fantastic Four should not be able to take out Doctor Doom by themselves. Doctor Doom in the comics is this universe culminating villain. He has armies of robots. The technology is out of this world. And again, it's so easy to set it up because now that Tony Stark is gone, who's gonna be who's gonna be dealing with that foreign Stark technology? Like who knows? Who can be the next Tony? What if Doctor Doom is the next Tony Stark and he gets hold of some form of that technology and uses it to his advantage? Like there's so much they could do with that character. And in terms of, Thanos obviously had an army. So you have all of these MCU heroes fighting against this character. It's not just going to be this character. So that's why I'm kind of leaning off of Galactus more in a sense because he's just one entity. Whereas Doctor Doom is one entity, but he has armies of robots
Oh
alongside
yeah.
connections to other villains that would fight alongside him. So not only is he a pretty powerful villain to start with, but he is a mastermind behind all that power. So he would be that person that we see assembles his own version of Avengers that are all villains.
Right.
So I definitely can see that play out. And there have been talks of Doctor Doom debuting in Black Panther 2. What?
That would be so
What?
cool. If they go that route, I know honestly, there's been a lot of talk and speculation that Namor the Submariner was going to be the main antagonist. This the concept between the two kingdoms with Atlantis and Wakanda clashing.
Oh, it
That
seems so
sounds
perfect.
so. Oh, I agree. I agree. If they choose the route of Doctor Doom, I think they would have to adapt the Doom War storyline, where obviously his country attempts to take over Wakanda in order to secure
Yep.
his supply of vibranium. I think that would be really cool. But I think that Doctor Doom is going to be one of those villains that he might pop up in one movie and verse another, but he's just going to be this huge prominent villain that all of the MCU is going to have to deal with. Like
Yes.
it's not going to be just the Fantastic Force problem or just the Avengers. It's going to be a huge event that's going, he's going to be causing a lot of trouble. And with Tony Stark out of the picture, I believe it creates a sense of vulnerability with the MCU because they
Yes.
have nobody to really combat this character. And I think that honestly, that really breeds interesting storytelling, in my opinion.
100%. And then it's like when you hear the talks of Namor potentially being in Black Panther, Atlantis versus Wakanda, that sounds so perfect.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
when I heard rumors about Doctor Doom, I was like, bye Namor. Bye Namor. Hello Doctor Doom. Let's see Doctor Doom starting his conquest to conquer different kingdoms and let him come across Wakanda. And actually, I feel like that would be an awesome way to set up that character where you can have Black Panther, where you can have Wakanda versus his army, and they lose. And now
Yeah,
Doctor Doom
absolutely.
has a hold of all of that vibranium, all of the Wakandan technology, and Black Panther Wakanda, they're on the run because they lost to Doctor Doom. And we've never really had, besides Infinity War, we've never really had a MCU solo film where the main character loses
Right?
on this traumatic level possible. So to have a mastermind like Doctor Doom come out of nowhere and take over the Wakandan technology, that puts him in such a position of power. And now it would be just awesome to see Black Panther running to assemble the other Avengers, to tell the other heroes, yo, this guy took over Wakanda. He has all our technology. He's gonna be a force to reckon with.
Couldn't have
And now
said it better myself.
come together and fight off Doctor Doom. And then when we have an introduction of Doctor Doom, we can also have an easy tie into the Fantastic Four. Easy tie into the Fantastic Four. So what I'm hoping happens, not what I think is going to happen, what I'm hoping happens is we get an introduction to Doctor Doom in Black Panther 2. And then within that film, he mentions the Fantastic Four. And then Fantastic Four is a prequel film that takes place before Doctor Doom became Doctor Doom. And that'll take place and it'll set up the introduction for the Fantastic Four into the MCU, which is something that it's inevitable. And I feel like it's one of the first moves Marvel's going to make in terms of integrating the Fox properties into the main MCU universe.
I think that's a very plausible theory. I would not be surprised if I saw that all play out in the mainstream movies. I think that there's also a possibility, like I've heard talks about the Fantastic Four being set in the 60s, and somehow they get involved in the quantum realm, and then that's how they get brought back to the mainstream MCU.
Yeah. I've actually heard a theory where the Fantastic Four, they were like this group of scientists, and they were the first people to deal with quantum technology, to deal with the quantum realm. And with dealing with that stuff that was, undiscovered, unheard of, they got into some dicey territory and they got stuck inside the quantum realm. And now is when they're finally coming out. And, obviously in Ant-Man and the Wasp, there's a reason that Janet Van Dyne came back with powers.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was in there the whole time. They could have brought her back out of the quantum realm completely normal. But she had to have powers. And now that gets me thinking, what if the Fantastic Four have been there the whole time? And that's why they've developed these weird, strange powers. And, we do know that within Marvel integrating these new Fox properties, they're going to do it differently. So I do see them easily integrating the Fantastic Four with a potential storyline like that, instead of going the traditional, they're astronauts, they're exploring an alternate dimension, or they're going to space and they have this freak accident. I do see Marvel connecting them so easily to a quantum realm storyline where they've been inside the quantum realm the entire time. And now after the events of Avengers Endgame, let's say, they get freed. And now they're back in the main universe.
I think that would be a super cool way to do that. Actually, when we're discussing the Fox properties, I have a question for you. Obviously, Kevin Feige said that they're going to treat the Fantastic Four and the X-Men properties much differently compared to their previous owners over at Fox. So I know there's been talk about who, with the characters such as Professor X and Charles Xavier and Magneto. How do you think they're going to incorporate Magneto? Obviously, the current timeline is the year 2023. And obviously, Magneto's backstory is what makes him Magneto. That's a very important character.
Yeah.
He's going to be like 100-something years old, pretty much. He's going to be very old when it comes to the year 2023 if he's a Holocaust survivor. How do you think that they're going to adjust that to make it, plausible with the main MCU continuity?
So I think I've actually thought of this for a while now, and Magneto has been the trickiest character because that amazing origin story. I mean, for me, Magneto is one of my, if not my most favorite Marvel villain of all time, because he has so much depth behind his whole story, and it's just such a tragic story. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you want to deal with Magneto, this is how you deal with Magneto. Before we get into Magneto, if you want to talk about integrating all of the X-Men, we know that the Eternals have been here the entire time, yet we've known zero about them. The Eternals have been here before the Avengers were even born.
That's true. That is
thousands
so true.
and thousands of years. So why can't the X-Men have been here the whole time? The mutants have been here the whole time. They've just been in hiding.
That's a great way to look at it, man. I mean, honestly, I think that, I believe, Kevin Feige said that they have some story, just like, way back, before Spider-Man first entered the MCU, Feige said that they have stories, on backup for if they ever acquire the rights to these characters and how they're going to introduce these characters. And I think that, they've really thought about this for years before the acquisition of Fox even happened. So I'm really interested to see how they were originally going to incorporate the X-Men and Fantastic Four into the MCU with that.
Yeah. But again, getting back to Magneto, because Magneto's the trickiest character in all of this, because his origin was during the Holocaust. So this is how you deal with Magneto. He has his origin, but within the Holocaust, they're super integrated with the Nazis and Hydra. What if he was one of the first test subjects for the super soldier serum?
Oh my gosh, man. Like, I did not even think about that. Like, that is
Gone
such a
wrong.
cool theory. Like, oh my gosh,
And
like that.
because it went wrong, he developed these strange abilities. It enacted his mutant abilities, and then it gave him superhuman de-aging. So Captain America in the main MCU timeline is, well, before he went back into the quantum realm and lived with Peggy and all that stuff, he's 125 years old.
Wow. That
Solved.
it's so, yeah, like that. Honestly, man, like I'm freaking out right now. That is such a cool way to look at it. Like, I think, wow, that is
So
like,
because his origin is so directly tied to the Holocaust, obviously the Nazis were the people behind the Holocaust.
right,
So
right.
why wouldn't Hydra be testing their first experiments for the super soldier serum with test subjects, with Jews?
Yeah, I mean,
If
like
they're gonna
that,
test it on anyone, it would have been Jews, the people that they're
right.
killing. So why not Magneto?
Excellent theory. Like, that is probably one of the, like, honestly, like, I'm blown away by that, man. Like, honestly, that is such a cool, interesting theory. Good job on that one. Like, wow.
And boom, problem solved. Magneto, he has slow de-aging. He barely ages, kind of like Captain Marvel. She's been around this whole time and she hasn't aged a second.
Right.
So we've seen it done in the past before, where they use some form of super de-aging where they barely age, whether it's Captain Marvel, Captain America, Thor, whatever the case may be. And I feel like there's going to be exactly what I said. I feel like that's going to be the case, because again, with that theory, you have it connected to Captain America, the first Avenger. Again, you could still keep the traditional classic Magneto origin, and then you could easily integrate him into the daily MCU universe, where we have that ongoing feud between him and Charles Xavier.
Absolutely. Like, honestly, like, I'm super excited to see how they incorporate the X-Men and all these characters into the MCU. And I think that is an excellent way to go about it. Like, only time will tell though, right?
100%, bro. So, Noah, we've talked about everything about the future of Marvel. We've talked about the already established characters, the new characters that are come, the Fox characters, the future of all of these characters. So, concluding today's episode of Superhero Sit Down, do you have any final thoughts?
Honestly, I believe that the next chapter of the MCU, whatever they decide to call this saga, is going to be unlike anything we've previously seen before. Because think about it. In the previous Infinity Saga, they didn't have the rights to all these characters. And, they were limited by the amount of stories they could tell. So moving into the future with Deadpool and the X-Men and the new Avengers teams, that's probably going to consist of Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, the list goes on and on. I believe that we are going to see the most authentic Marvel comic storytelling to date in the actual live action form. And personally, I believe that's going to be the most exciting thing for us to see as Marvel fans.
100% agree. And for me, it's like, look what Kevin Feige did with the characters when all of the characters were separated. Fox had all of these properties. Sony has Spider-Man, and look at what Kevin Feige did. Now you just give the man all of the toys. Let's see what he's gonna do now.
Let's see what he's gonna do. Absolutely, man.
Like, Kevin Feige is just, in Feige we trust, man.
In Feige
like,
we trust. Amen.
the chains have been loosed. There's no more chains anymore. There are no strings on Feige anymore.
There are no strings on
100% in full control, and I cannot be more excited for the future of Marvel. So there you guys have it. That is that. This is Superhero Sit Down episode 16. Again, shout out to my boy Noah, the Superhero Buzz, for hopping on today's episode. And you guys can check out the links to all of his content in the description. So again, make sure to check him out. Check out what he's doing over on his YouTube channel and continue to dive deep into what's to come for the future of Marvel. So any final words before we end today's episode, Noah?
Honestly, I've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. This was a little bit unscripted, so I'm sorry if I kind of paused here and there, but I'd love to come back again or even have you on my show with a live stream. Like, you honestly sparked
100%.
a lot of topics I'm going to, really discuss and ask you a bunch of questions. So if you would like to return, I would really love that. And, honestly, it could be a lot of fun. It's always fun talking about Marvel.
Any day of the week, bro. Any day of the week.
Absolutely.
I could do this without recording.
As Captain America said, I could do this all day.
I could do this all day. So there you guys have it. Thank you guys for watching this video. In order to stay up to date with everything related to superheroes, make sure to hit that bell notification on my channel. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Superhero Sit Down.